Foley is messy. Messy is probably the best way I can describe her. This isn't just because she's inky and stinky, but because of a problem with modern-day Warframes that only tends to get more and more obvious with each release. And that's outside of her well-thought-out design and theming. She sort of struggles to carve out her own identity through her gameplay. Most frames these days do a little bit of everything, not really fully conforming to one singular role. Everything is self-sufficient, and that leads to things feeling a bit more homogenized. Foley is no different, but now with the bread and butter of her kit being akin to a fucking Gmod prop spawner. This isn't to say that Foley is bad, nor unfun to play, quite the opposite. I toyed with her for almost 7 hours on stream during the release of the Shadowgraph, Shady Nasty.
Asshole.
She is insanely strong, has a tool for almost every situation, and fashions like a dream. But it has me wondering, what the fuck does this have to do with a walking Rorschach test? But I digress. She isn't the most survivable Warframe. Even with a DR ability, these stats aren't that special. But her first ability, Force Perspective, helps out a lot. While seemingly just a movement tool, Foley also inks anything on the other side of her jump, priming with slow, corrosive damage, and increased odds of dropping health and energy orbs, all while giving you iframes and cleansing your status procs. And in Warframe's inconsistently consistent fashion, this is not mentioned anywhere on her ability screen. The Chinese were right about Pablo, 100 more years of Mao. Foley's 2 is her Shadowgraph. Along with being a valid contender for an any % ban speedrun, its wheel is a Swiss Army knife of tools that you can use to summon on a whim using your ink. Stuff like explosive barrels, arc traps, and death orbs are easily the most cracked in her kit, doing ludicrous damage. They don't scale in strength in any way, but instead level, making strength your dump stat. Kinda. We'll get to that later. You have more utility-focused Shadowgraphs as well, stuff like survival support towers, disruption conduit keys, a defense pod that draws aggro, a bounce pad for those nostalgic over the old days of Vauban, I guess. And most importantly, yeah, the RPG kinda sucks outside of Acolytes. Okay, a little bit of a note here. There's a lot of yapping on Reddit and Twitter at the moment about how people damage testing Foley in the Simulacrum is not representative of actual missions, because internally, the Simulacrum is level 500. I did some testing. This is bullshit. She's doing the same damage in the Simulacrum as she is doing in normal missions. So, shut up. Thread in description. Utility Shadowgraphs are all on cooldowns while your arc traps and barrels can be spammed, which is fair considering you can drop a fucking Loke Surge. This might be one of the best objects specifically for endless runners. Like, yeah, 7 minutes of cooldown, kinda oof. But free energy, health max, lifesteal on slash procs, free casting, and even red crits are just way too good to pass up. Some stuff such as amphors and excavator batteries and conduit keys feel a little bit restrictive with the cooldown, but they're meant to be supplementals to your objectives rather than wanting to rely on them solely. Foley's 3 inflates her, making her big and round. Self-Portrait creates an inky doppelganger that sets down an ink field. It increases in size and duration the more you kill within, rewarding you and your team damage reduction, along with slowing and orb generation on inked enemies, much like her first ability. It's gloom. It's just gloom with extra steps. Everything returns to gloom. DR is kind of whatever since you're mostly going to be shield gating and abusing invulnerability of your one, but as a team player ability, it might come in handy. It's primarily being used for the slow and inkage. I would say keep it on. Plain Air is Foley's 4th ability, and I mean, it's alright. It's a defense reduction and crowd control, lifting enemies into the air and eventually dropping them, doing a pittance of damage. You only need 200 strength to get the full strip, but even with absolutely no strength investment, your Shadowgraph constructs kill through armor. Pair that with high ceilings, making it so stuff like arc traps struggle to actually hit your targets, and yeah, it's just kind of meh. But you can jump on the balloons and they pop. That's kind of fun. Outside of her 3's DR and 4's armor strip, Foley really doesn't need power strength. So anyway, we're building for power strength. While strength doesn't affect the damage of your constructs, roar does. And you know what roar uses? That's right, PEMDAS type shit. Range up to ink as much as you can, slowing things down, roar and blast maps like
insert topical and unfunny reference to modern day warfare here.
If you want to exclusively use arc traps without the roar, you can swap out red shards for purple. Then you can use a subsume such as silence, or a grouping tool like ensnare, airburst, or coil horizon since you're maxing out range. Foley has all of this utility and unfortunately falls back on the dominant strategy of using 1 to 2 of her 14 tools. While those tools are incredibly strong and fun, it is kind of disappointing just how niche the rest of her kit is. On one hand, you have the ability to slow, hard CC, give DR, generate orbs, armor strip, and do damage. On the other hand, you have so many situational tools that you won't really get to use most of them, and in some cases, even forget about them. She's in that weird spot of having zero role identity, being a hodgepodge of every other modern Warframe that can do basically everything, but simultaneously, she has a whole tool belt of niches that could potentially make her the best pick for a specific mission type, but it still will always result in just going boom boom zap zap and ignoring the rest. I don't really know how I feel about her. I can't entirely blame the devs on this type of Warframe considering the age of co-op and roles are basically dead. Releasing her purely as a support or DPS would make her, or any Warframe, basically dead on arrival. But with Foley's Hunt, DE is willing to look more into missions that are less kill 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 and are slower, methodical, and require a little bit of exploration. There is obviously some creative juices still flowing within the team, but ever since Dante, every frame seems to be a Swiss Army knife and just kind of melds all together. In a sense, when everyone is super, no one is. So just pick what frame you like. I like Foley, even if she's a bit messy. And probably a war criminal. Foley mating prep.
Do I offend?
Shut up, man.
Can you truly say you love your partner if you wouldn't eat their poop?
Shut the fuck up.
You know what, Kira, if you're watching, I would eat your poop.